Hi, and welcome to Beam Global's Fireside Chat series. This is the place where CEOs share secrets of global B2B software marketing. In these interviews, we have selected CEOs and founders of top B2B software companies and startups that have already made their breakthrough to global markets. We want to learn from them what were the challenges that they have faced, strategies that they have devised, their experiences, and all this with the purpose of avoiding unnecessary mistakes, obtaining valuable tips from them, and some inspiration for your international journey. And our guest today is Roi Sorezki. Roi is the CEO and founder of Twik and Sorezki, but we are going to focus on Twik in this episode. Twik, very briefly, is a cloud-based platform that personalizes content and user experience to each visitor's demographical and behavioral data. All this without modifying the CMS, the content management system. It automatically actually generates or understands the objectives of a website. It supports a variety of key performance indicators, and it actually serves with personalized funnels the variety of visitors, enhancing their experience with the purpose of increasing conversions. Twik was established in 2017. They have raised by crowdfunding $1 million, and thereafter additional $1 million. They boast with 1,000 registered customers, and they're extending their global reach. Roi has been involved in the internet optimization and marketing community since 1997. Therefore, for me, it's fascinating to interview a company that develops and sells marketing solutions and to understand how these guys market and sell their own solution. Hi, Roi. It's very nice to having you with us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Good, good, good. Are you ready for our interrogation?
Of course I am. We're ready. Let's go.
Okay, great. This is exciting for all of us. Please, let's start with a little bit about the company and the product and some background. Who are your target customers?
Brilliant. So, as you mentioned in the background you just provided, Twik started in early 2017 with a background of over 20 years of experience of the founding team. It was founded by myself within an incubator I own at the Sorezki agency, and then was spun off into a separate company, Twik Technologies, that was prior to our seed round, which took place in April last year. The one you mentioned with crowdfunding and a capital raise of $1 million. We then topped it up with another $1 million by one of the angel investors who joined on that round and are now headed towards our Series A with a bridge safe round, just to kind of prepare the figures. Just a little bit of background about the product, why I went about creating it. So if you or the audience listening are familiar with the personalization industry, it's mainly consisted of tools for enterprise companies designing A/B testing tools, multivariate testing tools. There are plenty of widgets out there designed to increase conversion rates, such as pop-up generators, chatbot generators, all about increasing the conversion rate. Conversion rate could be anything. It could be the checkouts on an e-commerce website. It could be the registrations, B2B leads, trials, demo requests, MQLs, SQLs on B2B websites, and on arbitrage websites, social news websites. You're just aiming towards increased session durations, retentions, more articles. So this entire was reserved to conversion rate optimizers, CROs, marketing experts who created custom solutions and tested manually all kind of hypotheses using advanced tools such as Dynamic Yield or Optimize or Optimizely, all kind of advanced testing tools. But these were the only tools available for this industry, meaning SMBs, retailers on Shopify, Wix, PrestaShop, BigCommerce, any of these platforms, even Magento, didn't have a plugin solution or a simplified solution to start increasing sales, personalizing the user experience without the prior knowledge or the team behind the scenes. You need a team coordinator, you need a backend developer to integrate the events, the SDKs, the APIs, and the marketing experts and UX experts. So this was the industry when we started. And when we picked it up in 2017, we tried to figure out a different solution, not how to simplify the existing solution, but rather how to create something that would be good for the companies utilizing the existing solutions, but also for companies who can't. So we went about thinking, what are the obstacles? What are the problems with the existing solutions? And we figured out there's more than just simplifying it. I mean, there's more than just simplifying the integration. There's more than just automating the personalization process. The accuracy level of the existing solutions, well, to put it simple, they are no longer accurate, or let's say they have such a data discrepancy that an alternate solution was required. And I'm currently referring to cookies. So with every analytical tool out there, Google Analytics and everything else utilizes cookies to track their users. But then again, cookies have such a discrepancy that if you don't approve the GDPR or CCPA consent dialog, or if you browse through incognito or in private browser, then you wouldn't be considered as a returning visitor. You will always be considered as a first-time user, which creates a segmentation discrepancy, assuming the user re-entered your website 20 times and completed a purchase. You'd want to know that this is one user with 5% conversion rate. With 100% conversion rate, as opposed to 20 users with 5% conversion rate. So when we kind of reviewed the whole thing, we figured out there are plenty of obstacles. We lined them up. We started resolving them one by the other, starting with the installation, which we turned into a single snippet installation or a plugin app install, which then diagnoses the website, identifies all the events, identifies all the business objectives, something you had to configure until now within the markup, within the code. It segments the users, and it can allocate the different variants to each user in order to increase performance. There are plenty of ways to do that. We've got a visual editor, we got a variants marketplace, we've got plenty of automations. We'll get probably deeper during the talk, but the idea was to increase sales automatically. We finally reached the holy grail. Twik is now a fully automated platform that once installed, you might enter a 2-week trial, but it tells you, this is your 2-week trial. Now let's see your revenue spikes, or let's see your conversion rate spikes. And you can track the performance. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you can decide whether you'd like to pay the monthly subscription fee, which could be $10, $50, $500. It varies between the different websites depending on how much traffic they have. And then you can see the revenue increase. So you can calculate your ROI and say, I want to keep on going, or I want to remove the app. But it's as simple as that. And the things that actually happen behind the scenes is, on the onboarding flow, you'll be presented with a list of automations, whether you'd like to translate currencies, reorganize the menus, reorganize the products catalog, and so forth. And we just detect the structure of your website, deploy the automations, reorganize elements without configuring anything, and we can reflect everything on the dashboard. So we reached from a point of simplifying the enterprise solutions for enterprise companies and then making them accessible to SMBs, to a point where we automate the entire process and still enable enterprises a fully sophisticated business intelligence dashboard, editing tools, visual editors, so they could do custom work, but also they don't have to. They can start going at it with a click.
Right.
So that's Twik.
So you still target enterprises, but also SMBs with like a bit different offering, right?
Correct. We've got this whole new blue ocean, which nobody has offered tool to, which is the SMBs. Twik is actually the first solution to operate in this arena, suggesting SMBs with a fully automated personalization tool, as opposed to just a product recommendations widget or a sticky add to cart button, which we offer as well, but we try to offer more. Even the pop-ups and the chatbots, which is a whole different sector. So we created enterprise solutions for this as well, but we just released them for free. So Twik is on a freemium model. Many of our tools are 100% free. However, if you integrate them with Twik, then they are more sophisticated. So we got a pop-up generator. If you look for pop-up generator on Google, you'll find us first, regardless to where you're looking it from. And you could use it on your website without Twik. Just export the HTML tag, add the pop-up. However, instead of having a coupon code, right? Just when you're about to exit a store, with Twik, you could have a coupon for the products you left in your cart and haven't checked out with. So it could be more personalized.
So if I may jump to the issue of the pricing, because it's very interesting. What is your value metric based on? What would make one customer to pay this amount and another customer that amount? Is it users, consumptions, number of websites? What's the major parameter?
So we actually very simplified the business model to a level where everything related to the big data, to the analytics, business intelligence. We even have a feature that automatically integrates Twik with Google Analytics, so you get a full marketing automation integration where it would actually, Twik would detect the goals on your website, add to carts, registration, user test, subscriptions, logins, and so forth, and write a default Google Analytics event onto Analytics, so now you have Analytics configured. So this is free. The analytics feature, the big data collection, the segmentation, the fingerprinting solution, which we use to replace cookies, which is more accurate. It covers 100% of the users. These are all free solutions. So we actually charge just when you increase your revenues or when you personalize or when you target. And even that, we offer every user 2,000 free targeted sessions per month. So we have two separate freemium models, right? When you onboard via Shopify, you get 2 weeks free trial, regardless to the amounts of traffic you've got on your website. So that's with the plugins, with the add-ons. Okay. And when you integrate with a single snippet via our website, then you get a renewable 2,000 sessions every single month. From there on, either the 2 weeks trial or the 2,000 renewable sessions, you pay a single cent per targeted session, regardless to the amount of page use within the session.
Targeted sessions, that is the value metric.
Exactly. And we drop that fee when we go to enterprise scale. So up to 1 million users, right, 1 million sessions, you'd be paying a cent per session. So that reaches a little less because you got a freemium quota, right? And from there on, we price not by half, but to a 1/10 of a cent per targeted session. So for, let's say, 10 million sessions, you'd only be paying 11 grand and not 100,000. The idea is to keep it scalable so that companies would be able to utilize the product moving forward. But if you compare this price to solutions, their starting fee, and I'm referring to a lot of them, right? Their starting fee is 10 grand a month, whether you're an SMB or an enterprise. And there's the integration cost, and there's the team coordinator and all the operation cost, and the maintenance fee. Because as you're aware, with a testing solution, you test a hypothesis, you fix it on the CMS, you target an audience. But then if a week later, whatever it is you're targeting your audience with is no longer relevant, the platform will not autocorrect. You need a data scientist to review the results, fix it, change it, amend the targeting. Otherwise, you might be targeting someone with something that will decrease the conversion rate. So we automated that as well. It's an autocorrect platform that serves each user, not a segment, each user with personalized content. So you don't have like 5 segments for 50 users. You have 50 segments for 50 users, or 1 million segments for 1 million users. It's a very personalized solution.
That's awesome. Awesome. Tell me, Roi, please, at which stage did you decide to approach global markets? I mean, is this something that happened within the company, or an external situation that made you take this decision, or it was the very nature of a startup to go global?
So, I suppose in many cases it is the nature of a startup, but in our case, we went about a strategy that started with stealth, right? We developed a product that we didn't really know who's going to be the right audience. We approached plenty of enterprises to begin with, the majority of which were here in Israel because of the agency, the incubator where Twik started. So we had plenty of clients to test the product on. They were enterprises, so plenty of enterprises, including cybersecurity companies, insurance companies, and so forth. Gradually, we realized who our target audience is. And when the Corona hit, we realized the e-commerce industry is much more important to us or valuable to us now with everything that's happening than the B2B industry, which was the primary focus in 2017, 2018. But in 2019, we already started developing all the solutions for e-commerce. Then the Corona came in December, and we started pushing this forward, came up with the automations to identify selectors, to do the plugins, and we're just now exiting stealth mode. So up until now, for nearly 4 years, Twik dealt with hundreds of enterprises to perfect the product. And the globalization strategy really began when we realized that the overhead we're dealing with as a startup, a small startup that started as a bootstrap, with onboarding enterprises, with a long cycle of legal and everything else, that even though Twik is installed by the front end, right, the client side, single line of code, no access to the back, no requirements regarding to the DB or still, enterprise companies have their own legal process, and it's time consuming.
continuing my previous question is, where do you find it easier to sell, in Israel or abroad?
Well,
Tricky
for us,
question.
it's always, for us, it's always easier here in Israel, even though there's a tough audience here. But that's, I suppose, purely because of the fact that communicating with companies abroad, you need to fly there. You need to communicate. You need to have hands-on meetings, and we used to do that. I took a plane to JFK, then a cab to Connecticut, and then back. It took me less than 30 hours before I landed back in Israel, but just for a 1 hour meeting. So this is crazy, and Zoom meetings have resolved that, which is good. That said, it's not as easy to convert enterprise clients, kick off a pilot, and so forth remotely. So we decided to split our efforts and pivot once again. And we've separated our product to two separate products. One is the SMB's platform solution, the plugins, the installations, the Shopify app, and so forth. The other one is the full-scale dashboard we've developed, which we are now restricting just for enterprise clients. So rather than selling both in-house, because we're overwhelmed with the demand, and we're just a small team of less than 20 people here in Twik. We are still a startup headed towards Series A. We decided to bring partners on board and have them resell the enterprise services. So we actually offer them a very high rev share if they don't only just sell the product, but also maintain customer relations, customer success processes, and do the conversion rate optimization services for the client. So our partners currently in France, in Spain, in Germany, they deal with onboarding the clients, training them, creating all the processes for them when it comes to enterprises. And when we get an enterprise approaching us, we just refer them to a client. We'd rather not deal with it in-house now and have our energy focus on the SMBs, on the applications in the marketplaces.
So what type of channel partners do you have? Are they like digital agencies or MSPs? What are their typical profile?
Right, so they vary. We try to target all kind of sectors. We try to find conversion rate optimization companies. We found that the majority of them will not take a bootstrap or a startup headed towards Series A too seriously, and they would all want to bring you on board with a retainer of about $5,000 a month and so forth. And as a startup, you can't afford it. So we put them aside for now and wait for them to kind of approach us when we're out of stealth mode. And then we went about with the agencies and found out that smaller agencies have their mindset around surviving the corona, and the larger agencies, they're looking for additional income sources, and they appreciate that during the corona time with the e-commerce spiking, they could onboard their clients. So we started working with advertising companies and larger firms, but not with the entire firm. These firms typically have digital companies within them, so they are like umbrella companies, and they have all these smaller agencies. So we train these agencies, and rather than our team dealing with the enterprise clients directly, so our team trains our partners, and these partners could even be smaller agencies. So we have partners onboarding agencies, which are also partners. And then there's ourselves onboarding partners and agencies. And this is where the enterprise efforts are going to go through, where we focus on Shopify internally. And for that, we also created the sales team. So the sales team is more designed to onboard while we do the campaigns and self-onboarding and everything, but also help a little bit larger clients, I wouldn't say enterprises, utilize the platform to increase performance, to get the best out of it. So we still have
very interesting to see how you match your channels and the strategy to the target customers. It looks like a wise decision that is working for you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, we're trying. You know, it's a trial and error, exactly a kind of process with like every other startup, and we've been doing this for nearly 4 years now. So we have a better understanding of who might want to use our product for what purposes, what industries, and there are plenty of utilizations for Twik, right? So we just mentioned the fingerprint. This could be utilized as a separate service just for tracking. If you don't want to use cookies, you revert to fingerprints, then you've got a solution for that. So we don't sell that as a separate technology or a separate solution, but then when you explain the technology and everything within it, all the different parts are all designed for one end game. to increase sales automatically. But during that road, we resolve plenty of stuff. So when we pitch a product, some company says, okay, we want this product or we want that product. So we have different onboarding solutions, but then you onboard a client and they see the rest of it and they want it too.
And tell me, Roy, how did you get your first, we know that in B2B sales, in order to sell abroad, you need to have references. You are an unknown company, and the company wants an assurance from another company and another buyer. How did you get your initial customers abroad without having any at the very beginning, the chicken and the hen, and the egg question?
Yeah, so it was actually easier for us because of our reputation in the industry. We were able to bring aboard plenty of leads who were keen to discuss whatever it is we have to offer because they're familiar with what we were able to do in the past. From there on, we weren't trying to convince them to pay anything, but just to onboard a POC. So we kick off so many pilots in 2017, 2018. So by the time we raised our seed round, our official seed round, we already validated the product with hundreds of enterprises. And now we've already validated products with about 1,000 enterprises prior to our Shopify release. So we really had to have it bulletproof before we leave stealth mode and enable everyone to use it. But before that, we didn't charge. We just said, go ahead and use it. And these were typically large enterprise companies, which also poses an obstacle. Because when you get to the seed round with so many enterprises and none of them is paying, then that's the first thing your investors would ask. However, that was a decision we made. So we're still on that point where we're not trying to get our enterprises to pay. We already have enterprises paying us for the solution because many pilots ended and they were satisfied, so they started paying. But back then, that wasn't the goal. We just wanted to validate the product. And right now, we have the same goal when it comes to Shopify. So the first few months, we're not onboarding Shopify users to pay a plan that is equivalent to the traffic they're utilizing on Shopify. We're going to release the product at a cost of $9 a month for everyone. So if you have 1 million users, you can increase the sales for $9 a month, but this will be limited for a few months before we switch it off. We want to validate that the results are brilliant on Shopify, they're brilliant on any other marketplace, and that the clients are willing to keep the product on their website and even pay whatever $9 a month.
Awesome. That's great.
Next year, we'll increase the prices and we'll be looking at MRRs. But before Series A, we just want to validate the technology, traction, and post Series A, we'll be heading towards MRR, ARRs, income, profitability for Series B, if comes, whenever it comes. But right now we're focused on validation.
That's very, very interesting. And tell me, would you recommend focusing in a single market? I'm talking abroad, other than the local market, or targeting several markets altogether? What is your experience with this?
So just like a POC with your product, I would say you could pilot several markets simultaneously, but only if you've got the capacity. Because if you actually want to succeed, you need focus. So just like we decided, our main focus is going to be e-commerce and not B2B, even though we have solutions for B2B. So we said, okay, the partners deal with B2B. We train them, they do the job. We focus here on the e-commerce. So we're not defocused. We have another arm that deals with that. So in the same manner, I would say globalization happened simultaneously, because when we started working with global partners to deal with the enterprises, so we expanded. We're still focused on onboarding with campaigns and self-onboarding, or selling to local enterprises here in Israel, or having our in-house sales team. But when having the partners there, trying to reach out all kind of enterprises, and now they know that we released the app on Shopify, and we're going to have automations for SMBs as well. So why not push it towards the local markets via our partners, which is something we plan on doing. So globalization is a part of the same trial and error I refer to. And obviously, if we hit the mark on one industry, on one market, be it France or the States, we'll start pushing it, right? We'll start pushing things forward on that market to become a prominent player.
Okay, that's super interesting. A lot of lessons there. Roy, we have reached the confession time.
Okay.
I want you, if you can, to share with us 2 major mistakes that you have committed. All of us commit mistakes. and that maybe our audience can learn from them and avoid their, repeating these mistakes from the very beginning. Can you share with
Of
us
course.
two of such mistakes?
I have one large mistake in mind, and I think that was listening to the VCs too early, right? So when you, in 2017, we tried to kind of figure out where we're at, right? We built a POC, the bootstrap. There's a reason why we haven't raised capital until April 19, and I funded a company within the incubator myself for 2.5 years. We approached too many enterprises too early, and the sales cycle, as I mentioned, is too long. So this was defocusing. And it took us a while to realize that we could deal with 10 enterprises and close none, right? And just do the pilots for validation. And by the time we finish the validation, a CEO might change in the company. So you validated a product, now you want to onboard into an enterprise deal, but it's too complex in terms of legal and everything. And we had to focus, but we did that because of the VCs. VCs said you need to come to an MRR of 100K, blah, blah, blah. So we went about it, but that was a mistake. We should have focused on the technology, not try to onboard enterprises for profitability, but just for POCs, as we eventually did when we realized that was a mistake, and not pitch the VCs too early, because we weren't looking for pre-seed. I funded it myself. We were looking for a proper valuation for a proper seed round after the spin-off. And we've eventually done that with angels, with private equity. And we are now doing the safe round with family offices and smaller VCs. So our mistake was to think that VCs are a brilliant solution for capital funding, regardless to where you're at in your life cycle. But they are not when it's too early, because they have a different approach and they're always looking at the numbers. There are very few VCs who actually appreciate technology that has been in stealth mode for 3 years. And there are no quick wins when you build such a large or robust product. So we weren't looking for quick wins. We just figured this was the way to go, but it's very different depending on what you do. So approaching the VCs at early stage, that was a mistake. Trying to bring profitability from enterprises at early stages, that was a mistake. And it took us a time. There were plenty of pivots here, including within our business roadmap. So I'd say that one. Another one is, there was a point in time where we figured we need to scale. We need to bring more development, more firepower, and so forth. Let's bring the best developers out there. The best developers, by record, are not necessarily best developers for your company. And we had a brilliant team that founded a company, that created a product, and so forth. And I had childhood friends who worked with me when they were all, age and so forth, and wanted to push things forward 20 years ago. And now one of them managed a team of about 100, 200 people at the larger enterprises. I wouldn't mention the name, but it's a pre-IPO company with a valuation of billions. And then there was another one who managed a team of about 300 developers within one of the largest DevOps firms here. And we said, okay, they're friends, let's bring them on. So we offered them very high salaries, compensation plan with options and everything, and we brought them on. But they were already, I don't know, after 20 years in the industry, I know I still have the strength to push on, but I suppose not everybody in the same manner, because they just wanted to have quick wins. And that didn't work out. And 6 months later, they just wanted to go about creating their own startup. So we brought some serious fire tools, cannons, onto the company who had the ability to do, but they were worn out. And they didn't integrate with the company, who was, in a struggle to push the bootstrap forward. But then we had two people who don't share the same atmosphere. They don't care as much as the founding members. And that was a mistake. We figured if we'll bring the best developers out there, then this must work for us. But it's more important when building a startup or a smaller company to bring the best people out there. People can learn, they can become more proficient and all kind of stuff. You need a good starting point, but more importantly, I think when building a startup, you need a team that can collaborate. You need a team that can work together. You need a team that can push forward in harder times, when you need to stay up late, when you need to work around the clock. And this is the life cycle of a startup. So you can't bring people who have the talent but don't have, what it takes to do startup. And a startup is not a high-tech company. There's a large difference. And I've already done startups 20 years ago. Then I went out to high-tech companies and came to us with the same ideas. So I suppose, team and strategy in terms of business. These were two mistakes we've done here with this company. Lucky enough, we were able to cut this on time and bring other members who have shared the same ideology as we do.
Right. Well, that's super interesting. Rui, I want to thank you very much for taking the time for these interviews, for sharing your insights, your mistakes, your success, your tips. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Rory. Thank you for having me again, and a great day for everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.